Today we're going to talk about how we eliminate or get rid of urine, so kind of the process that it goes through there. So nephrons, back to the nephrons, urine is formed, basically filtered and formed in the nephrons. Urine passes through those collecting ducts to the renal papillae, then to the minor and major calyces, which is calyx plural, and then out the renal pelvis to the ureters. It's going to go through the ureters to your urinary bladder where it's stored for short periods of time, and then finally to the urethra, which empties or conveys to the outside. The ureters are the two tubes that lead from each one of the kidneys. So you have a right and a left kidney, you have a right and a left ureter. They extend from the kidneys to actually the bottom of the bladder. You know, when you look at a diagram, a lot of times it kind of looks like they come in at the top. They kind of drop behind the bladder and come in at the base of the bladder. The wall of these ureters, these long tubes, have three layers. There's the mucus coat, the muscular coat, and then the outer fibrous coat. So this is inside, middle, outside. So mucus, kind of like most of your other organs, it's going to have mucus on the inside, allows things to flow easier. Muscular coat that's going to help to push the urine through a little bit, and then the outer fibrous coat. Muscular peristaltic waves, very much like in your esophagus, kind of that twisting motion, is pretty much the same way that your urine is pushed through the ureters. So peristaltic waves push the urine or convey the urine to the bladder, where it passes through a little valve in the mucous membrane of the urinary bladder. So there's a little valve that it's going to pass through in the mucous membrane. The urinary bladder itself is a hollow organ because that's where the urine is going to stay, is in that hollow area. Distensible, it's elastic, it's going to stretch. It is muscular because it's going, when it empties, there is squeezing that helps it to empty. So it's hollow. It's really not very big when it's not full, and it has muscles that help to completely empty the urine out. The internal floor of the bladder includes the trigone. Tri means three. There's basically three things that are going to enter here, and I'll show you on the diagram after this. So it has this trigone has the openings of those two ureters, where I said they came in on the base, and then your urethra opening is also going to be on the base of your bladder. So all three of those basically exist almost in like a triangle shape. The wall of the urinary bladder is made up of four coats. So ureters had three, your bladder has four. Here again, inner mucus coat, transitional epithelium, submucosa coat. So basically this time there's two layers that involve mucus. And then the muscular coat. It's actually called the detrusor muscle, and that's kind of the muscle, that layer that's going to surround your bladder. And then the outer serous coat, which is also somewhat fibrous. The portion of this detrusor muscle that surrounds the neck of the bladder is going to form the internal urethral sphincter muscles. So here again, remember, sphincter muscles are round. So you're going to have an internal urethral sphincter muscle and an external urethral sphincter muscle. So, diagram. I do like this diagram. Serous coat is this outside lining, and then here is your muscular lining that you can see. Here we're looking at prostate gland, seminal vesicle, so obviously we are looking at a male on this side. But here, what I want you to see, detrusor muscle is this muscle that surrounds the bladder. Here is the neck, or the bottom, and then here is this trigone area that I was talking about. So the openings of the ureters come in, so it looks like they come in at the top, but they actually empty, they come in behind, and they empty at the base of the bladder. And then your urethra is going to come out from down here. So this triangle area is called the trigone. Mucus coat on the inside, submucous coat, anything else? The internal sphincter muscle. So this is a slice from the side, so you really can't see it as well. This almost shows a better picture of the external sphincter. But it's a round opening, so the internal urethral sphincter sits right at the bottom of your bladder. Then it's going to drop through the urethra, whether you're a male or a female. It's going to go through the urethra, and then you're going to have an external sphincter muscle at the bottom of the urethra. So internals at the top, externals at the bottom. Urine typically leaves the bladder. It's called micturition reflex. What happens is this muscle that surrounds it, the detrusor muscle, contracts, and then the external, so the outer one, the external sphincter muscle has to relax. So sphincter muscles, when they contract, close. If I want to go to the bathroom, I don't want that closed. So the sphincter muscle has to relax, where that muscle around the bladder contracts. So the muscle around the bladder is going to squeeze, the sphincter muscle is going to open and allow urine to go through. Stretching of the urinary bladder is what triggers this micturition reflex center. Basically that's located in your spinal cord. But when your bladder starts to stretch and get full, that's what's going to trigger this reflex that stimulates that you have to go to the bathroom. That feeling of needing to go to the bathroom. Parasympathetic impulses cause the detrusor muscle to contract in waves, and then that urge to go to the bathroom is sent. So what happens is these muscles somewhat start to slowly contract. You feel like you have to go to the bathroom. When those contractions actually become stronger, then the internal sphincter at the top is forced open. The external urethral sphincter is composed of skeletal muscle, and this is under conscious control, which you guys should be aware of. You have control over your external sphincter muscle. This internal one, you don't feel, you don't really even know that it's there. So the external sphincter is the one that you can consciously control. Urethra then is just the short tube. It conveys urine. It's going to take urine from the bladder to the outside. Called the urethral orifice is basically what that opening part is called. It's a muscular tube. Your urethra also has a muscular lining, and it has urethral glands that also secrete mucus. Females, you know, this mucus secretion may be different throughout the month. In females, the urethra is about 4 centimeters long, so not very long. Its opening is between the vaginal opening and the clitoris. And I have talked about with sophomores before. Females have 2 openings, males have 1. So in females, your urethra opening is not the same as the vaginal opening. They are 2 separate openings. In males, the urethra serves both for your urinary system and the reproductive system. So urine will pass through the urethra and semen will pass through the urethra. There again, it's under control where both can't pass at the same time, but both will pass through that opening. So that urethra in a male is going to be longer. It's going to run through the prostate gland, the seminiferous glands, and then also through the penis. And that would be the end of the reproductive system, or the urinary system, which will kind of lead into the reproductive system that we're doing next.